Over the past few decades, the relationship between Saudi Arabia and Palestine has been a bit of a puzzle. On one hand, Saudi Arabia is supposed to be a staunch ally of Palestine, a country which advocates for the rights of Muslims worldwide and has consistently supported the Palestinian cause. But on the other hand, there have been instances where the Saudis have seemed to waver in their support for Palestine, leading many to question their true intentions. Recently, the puzzle seems to have been solved. It appears that Saudi Arabia has been secretly working against Palestine all along. This betrayal is shocking but not surprising. We've seen this kind of behavior from the Saudis before. What's even more alarming is that they're not alone. Jordan, the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco are also turning their backs on Palestine. So what's going on here? Why are these countries abandoning Palestine? And what does this mean for the future of the region? Let's find out. On May 26, 2023, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas made a significant and alarming revelation during his speech at the Arab League Summit in Saudi Arabia. He stated that some Arab leaders had informed him of their intention to normalize relations with Israel, despite ongoing Israeli violations of Palestinians' human rights. This shocking statement came as a surprise to many who had assumed that Saudi Arabia's commitment to the Palestinian cause was unwavering. However, it appears that all might not be as it seems, and that Saudi Arabia may have been secretly betraying Palestine all along. President Abbas's remarks were particularly jarring given that Saudi Arabia is widely regarded as the leader of the Muslim world and a staunch ally of Palestine. Such, many were taken aback by the revelation that the Saudis might be considering normalization with Israel. Furthermore, President Abbas's claim that he had received this information directly from Saudi leaders added an air of authenticity to the statement, making it all the more shocking. In response to these claims, Saudi officials have not yet issued a public statement. The silence only serves to amplify speculation and intrigue surrounding the true nature of Saudi Arabia's relationship with Palestine. Could it be that the Saudis have been secretly undermining the Palestinian cause all along? Or is there another explanation for their seemingly contradictory actions? Saudi Arabia has long positioned itself as a champion of the Palestinian cause, consistently advocating for a two-state solution and denouncing Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory. However, recent developments have raised questions about the kingdom's true intentions. In March 2023, Saudi Arabia made a controversial decision to allow Israeli planes to enter its airspace. This move followed a similar decision by Jordan, which had faced criticism from Palestinians for allowing Israeli aircraft to use its airspace for travel to and from Egypt. While the Saudis attempted to justify their decision by citing humanitarian reasons, many saw it as a strategic move to appease Israel and the United States, two key allies of Saudi Arabia. The timing of the decision, which came just weeks after normalization talks between Israel and Turkey broke down, further fueled speculation about Saudi Arabia's true intentions regarding Palestine. Could it be that the kingdom was using the plight of Palestinians as a cover for its own strategic interests, adding fuel to the fire? Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant's recent visit to Saudi Arabia in April 2023 caused an uproar in the Arab world. While Saudi officials denied reports that Gallant would meet with senior Saudi officials, the mere fact that an Israeli minister was allowed into the country was seen as a major breach of protocol and a sign of potential normalization. The controversy surrounding Gallant's visit highlighted the deep divisions within Saudi Arabia between those who view Israel as an existential threat to the Palestinian cause and those who believe that engagement with Israel could bring greater benefits to the kingdom. Furthermore, Saudi Arabia's decision to grant Israeli businessmen visas to visit the kingdom for an investment conference in February 2023 raised eyebrows and sparked protests across the Arab world. Many saw the move as a blatant disregard for the suffering of Palestinians and a clear indication that the Saudis were willing to sacrifice the Palestinian cause for their own gain. The controversy surrounding the investment conference and the subsequent protests only served to deepen the divide between Saudi Arabia and its critics, who accused the kingdom of betraying the trust of the Arab world. It's important to note that Saudi Arabia's relationship with Israel has been complex and fraught with tension. Despite not having diplomatic relations with Israel, the kingdom has maintained a close relationship with the United States, a key ally of Israel, and has engaged in extensive trade and economic ties with the Jewish state. In fact, Saudi Arabia has been one of Israel's largest trading partners since 2021, with bilateral trade reaching $8.2 billion. This close relationship has been a point of contention for Saudi Arabia's critics, who argue that the kingdom is betraying the Palestinian cause by engaging so closely with Israel. However, Saudi Arabia's position is more nuanced and can be attributed to a number of factors. Firstly, the kingdom views Israel as a strategic asset in its rivalry with Iran, which sees Israel as a Western puppet in the region. As such, Saudi Arabia has sought to maintain good relations with Israel in order to counterbalance Iranian influence. Secondly, Saudi Arabia's close ties with the United States, a staunch ally of Israel, have also contributed to its complex relationship with the Jewish state. The kingdom relies heavily on U.S. military and economic support, and has been wary of angering its American allies by taking a strong stance against Israel. Finally, Saudi Arabia's own internal dynamics, including the rise of religious conservatism and the growing influence of hardline clerics who oppose normalization with Israel, have also shaped its relationship with the Jewish state. Nonetheless, Saudi Arabia's close relationship with Israel has come at a cost, namely its reputation as a champion of the Palestinian cause. Many Palestinians and Arabs see Saudi Arabia's engagement with Israel as a betrayal of the Palestinian struggle for independence and statehood. As such, the kingdom has faced widespread criticism and condemnation for its perceived hypocrisy and double standards in dealing with Israel. The controversy surrounding Saudi Arabia's relationship with Israel has only intensified in recent months, with calls for the kingdom to take a more principled stand against the occupation and apartheid regime in Israel. However, Saudi Arabia has resisted these calls, maintaining that its engagement with Israel is part of a broader effort to promote peace and stability in the region. Only time will tell whether Saudi Arabia will continue to walk the tightrope between its strategic interests and its commitment to the Palestinian cause, or whether it will ultimately choose one side or the other. Many analysts believe that Saudi Arabia's true intentions regarding Palestine have always been rooted in pragmatism rather than principle. They argue that the kingdom's support for Palestine has been conditional and contingent on its strategic interests in the region. For example, Saudi Arabia's decision to normalize relations with Israel could be seen as a way to secure its southern border with Yemen, where it faces a proxy war with Iran. By establishing diplomatic ties with Israel, Saudi Arabia could potentially gain access to Israeli technology and intelligence that could help it combat Iranian-backed rebels in Yemen. Furthermore, analysts argue that Saudi Arabia's decision to allow Israeli planes to overfly its territory is part of a broader effort to improve its relations with the West. The kingdom has been increasingly concerned about its reputation on the global stage and has been eager to portray itself as a modern and progressive Muslim nation. Allowing Israeli planes to overfly Saudi Arabia could be seen as a gesture of goodwill towards the United States and other Western nations, which could help improve Saudi Arabia's image on the international stage. Finally, Saudi Arabia's decision to grant Israeli businessmen visas to attend an investment conference in the kingdom could be seen as part of an effort to boost its economy. The kingdom has been facing a number of economic challenges in recent years, including falling oil prices and rising unemployment. By opening up to Israeli businessmen, Saudi Arabia could potentially tap into a new market and attract much-needed investment to its economy. Overall, many analysts argue that Saudi Arabia's true intentions regarding Palestine have always been rooted in pragmatism rather than principle. The kingdom's actions can be seen as a way to protect its strategic interests in the region, improve its relations with the West, and boost its economy. However, others argue that Saudi Arabia's actions are part of a deliberate strategy to abandon Palestine and embrace Israel as the new regional power broker. They point to Saudi Arabia's close ties with the United States and Israel as evidence of this shift, and suggest that the kingdom is positioning itself to benefit from the existing power structure in the region. This argument is supported by Saudi Arabia's recent overtures to Israel, including the visit of an Israeli minister to the kingdom and the potential normalization of diplomatic relations. Furthermore, Saudi Arabia's decision to allow Israeli planes to overfly its territory and grant visas to Israeli businessmen could be seen as a way to test the waters for full normalization with Israel, gradually increasing its engagement with Israel. Saudi Arabia could be gauging public opinion in the kingdom and preparing the ground for a full diplomatic relationship. This argument is supported by the fact that Saudi Arabia has been facing internal pressure to engage with Israel, with some hardline clerics calling for normalization between the two countries. Ultimately, Saudi Arabia's true intentions regarding Palestine remain unclear. The kingdom's actions have been characterized by a mixture of pragmatism and opportunism, suggesting that Saudi Arabia is willing to abandon Palestine if it believes it is in its best interest. However, the kingdom's recent overtures to Israel have been met with mixed reactions from the Saudi public, indicating that there is still a significant amount of sentiment in favor of the Palestinian cause. As the situation continues to develop, it will be important to monitor Saudi Arabia's actions closely to determine whether the kingdom is truly abandoning Palestine, or if it is simply playing a dangerous game of realpolitik. As we've seen, Saudi Arabia's recent actions have left many questioning its true intentions regarding Palestine. Whether the kingdom is genuinely committed to the Palestinian cause, or simply paying lip service while pursuing its own interests, one thing is clear: the Saudi-Israeli alliance poses a significant threat to Palestinian freedom. Saudi Arabia's decision to allow Israeli planes to overfly its territory, normalize diplomatic relations, and grant visas to Israeli businessmen are all worrying signs that the kingdom is abandoning its traditional role as a champion of the Palestinian cause. These moves are not only a betrayal of the trust placed in Saudi Arabia by the Arab world, but also a dangerous precedent for the region. By embracing Israel, Saudi Arabia is sending a message that it is willing to overlook Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory and its violation of Palestinian human rights in pursuit of its own strategic interests. This sets a dangerous precedent for other Arab nations. It's potentially encouraging them to prioritize their own interests over the Palestinian cause and abandon Palestine in its most critical hour. If Arab nations, especially key players like Saudi Arabia, abandon Palestine, it would be a devastating blow to the Palestinian struggle for independence and statehood. It would send a message to Israel that the international community is not truly committed to the Palestinian cause, and that Israel can continue its occupation of Palestinian territory without fear of reprisal. For Palestinians, the abandonment of Saudi Arabia would be deeply demoralizing. The Saudis have long been seen as champions of the Palestinian cause, and their support has been crucial in rallying the Arab world behind the Palestinian struggle. To see Saudi Arabia abandon Palestine would be a significant blow to Palestinian morale and could undermine support for the Palestinian cause, both within Palestine and in the Arab world. Furthermore, the abandonment of Saudi Arabia would leave Palestine isolated on the international stage, without the support of key Arab nations like Saudi Arabia. Palestine would be left with few allies in the region and would be unlikely to receive the military, economic, and political aid necessary to sustain its struggle for independence. Moreover, the Saudi-Israeli alliance could embolden Israel to escalate its occupation of Palestinian territory and its violation of Palestinian human rights. With the backing of Saudi Arabia, Israel could feel more confident in its actions and could become more aggressive in its pursuit of its strategic goals in the region. In conclusion, the prospect of Saudi Arabia abandoning Palestine and embracing Israel as a strategic partner is deeply troubling. It would not only be a betrayal of the Palestinian cause, but also set a dangerous precedent for the region and embolden Israel to escalate its occupation of Palestinian territory and its violation of Palestinian human rights. Palestinians in the Arab world must remain vigilant in the face of this threat and continue to rally support for the Palestinian cause. The struggle for Palestinian independence and statehood is a just one and must be defended at all costs. As we've seen, Saudi Arabia's recent actions have shocked the Arab world and left many wondering about the kingdom's true intentions regarding Palestine. If the Saudis are indeed abandoning Palestine, it would be a grave mistake with far-reaching consequences for the region and the Muslim world. It remains to be seen whether Saudi Arabia will continue down this dangerous path, or whether it will ultimately choose to stand with its allies and defend the Palestinian cause. Only time will tell. What do you think about Saudi Arabia's recent moves regarding Palestine? Do you think they're genuine, or just a calculated betrayal? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more insightful videos on current affairs and global politics.